Captain on the bridge.
Alright, captains, we are back on the bridge, and today, yes, we got some things to go over from the Star Trek Online X feed, so on screen. Yes, captains, before we get into this video, do us a huge favor, hit that like button. Also, if you're new here, welcome. Consider subscribing here to the YouTube bridge, as we're always on the lookout for like-minded captains who are going to share our love, our passion for Star Trek Online, but also things Star Trek. Now that said, here we go. Captains, we got some blogs and things to go over. So as we do here, we're going to go over them, drop the ECs, and then at the end, give our conclusion. So first up, this looks pretty cool. Let's just take a look at this pic that we have here. That is the Protostar, which again is coming to Star Trek Online in about 2 weeks. And look at this. That just looks like a bunch of Borg cubes stacked upon each other, or however that looks. That is crazy. This kind of reminds me of Star Trek Picard Season 3 when the Enterprise D was going up against that Borg cube kind of embedded into Jupiter, but that looks pretty cool. But here we go. First one up. So as part of Stowe Incursion, so that is the new season, you'll be called upon to close vortices from other realities. Drop the guillotine before it's too late in this brand new task force operation. Ooh, we knew this was coming. Let's go ahead. This is a pretty long one, so just bear with us, captains. So drop the guillotine. In Guillotine, the brand new task force operation coming to Star Trek Online Incursion, you'll battle to close the vortices from a more dangerous dimension into our own. I don't know what that means, because the last time we saw this Borg, it was just in the mirror universe. So is this another one? I'm not sure. Well, I guess we're gonna find out. So here we go. Admiral Quinn noted the distinct lack of an interruption as he worked on his report to the assembled Alliance command. He pondered if it had been 5 minutes or 5 hours, but reviewing the report, which he had been reading and rereading, didn't offer any clues. He resigned to himself that it was good enough and that he would iron out any issues on the fly, as he always did. He glanced out the windows of his office to the command deck and spied Lieutenant Linnea busying herself at one of the consoles with an ensign. He made his way to the door of his office, waited a beat, and then he said, "Lieutenant Linnea, please join me in my office." Linnea turned and acknowledged the Admiral and waited for him to turn before addressing the ensign she was working with. "Keep on it. You're picking this up quickly. I'll be right back." Quinn motioned to the data pad on the edge of his desk as Linnea entered. She picked it up as Quinn sat down and gestured across the surface of his own pad broadly in her direction. She looked down to the pad where the latest draft of Quinn's report appeared. The top of the draft read, "Closing trans-dimensional vortices and you." She smirked. "Are you looking for feedback, Admiral, or approval?" Quinn's brows raised. "The title can use some work, I admit it, but it is succinct." What is that? Succinct? Succinct? Oh dear Lord. She tilted her head, and then nodded in agreement, and then launched into reading this draft and applying edits, satisfied that Quinn wanted her feedback. "It seemed like every time we meet, there is another crisis." Nature of our job, and comes with the territory. Blah, blah, blah. "I would like to acknowledge the continued effort of all parties." Quinn observed as Linnea cut through his words like an expert butcher, dismantling them and separating out all the good bits and pieces from the bad, trimming the fat, so to speak. "Okay, now you've gotten to the heart of the matter, the trans-dimensional vortices." Linnea ceased her two-step-like pacing and took a seat, sparing only the swiftest glance to Admiral Quinn, as she started to do out of respect, but also knowing that she had permission to sit when she had entered the room. She had worked with him long enough that the dog and pony show between ranks wasn't necessary when it was just the two of them. "I think you should cut the pleasantries and get right to it," she began. Quinn motioned for her to continue the thought. "L'Rell shows patience for such Federation pleasantries, but she does it out of respect, not appreciation. Get right to the point and get her thinking about actionable information, and she'll show the appreciation." Quinn stood and began pacing around the desk, challenging Linnea's suggestion and risk offending Loris and the Dominion. Linnea shook her head and stood to match the Admiral. "On the contrary, you're thinking of the old Dominion. They regaled and veiled threat and honed words in honeyed words in equal measure, the new Dominion. Quinn stopped her there. I've had the pleasure of meeting Odo. He prefers his information without any sugarcoating as well. And what he wants, Loris echoes, I see your point. Linnea nodded, and now the Romulans. And again interrupted, point made. Let's move on to the specifics of the report. Linnea hid a smile with a strategic turn on her heel to begin her two-step pacing while she reviewed the specifics. Transdimensional vortices, Admiral Camarque, protomatter, Lucari, that's Tholian technology, here we go. Quinn sat back down as Linnea worked her magic. In a way, she reminded him of an orb weaver spider, performing her pacing two-step and diligently weaving together something wonderful out of chaos. I always like these reads caps because they just kind of give you a sort of thought of the devs and see where they're trying to put us in the mindset. So that's why I kind of love going over these. So 2 weeks later, Admiral Quinn nodded to Lieutenant Linnea in the back of the room. She gave him a subtle thumbs up, and then he addressed and assembled Alliance leaders. I'm not going to waste anyone's time with pleasantries and pageantry. I think we've proven that not only are we beyond the need for such theatrics in this relationship, but it's also a little tired and cliche. After all, the Federation does like hearing the sound of our own voices. L'Rell laughed. The rest of the assembled leadership looked at her in particular horror until Quinn smiled and continued. No, it's funny because it's true. Loris of the Dominion cleared her throat and addressed Quinn. Yes, amusing. On with it, Quinn. Tell us about these transdimensional vortices. You didn't bring us out here to try your comedy routine for one of your crew-mandated talent shows. Pro-Counsel Datan of the Romulan Republic added, and more about this Lucari protomatter technology your science division has been developing to close them. Rumor has it, it's Tholian in origin. Laura watched as Quinn squirmed under the sudden verbal onslaught of the others, savored it for a moment, and then came to his defense. I'm sure all the technical specifications will come in time. What I found most pressing is why the Tholians are so eager to close them. What threat do they present? The others nodded and looked to L'Rell, never one to pass up the opportunity to lead. She stood, drawing all eyes to her. I prefer to handle the closing of the vortices with Klingon territory myself, within Klingon territory myself, rather than have the Tholians violate my borders to do it for me. Quinn caught L'Rell's gaze. She was giving him an opportunity to right the ship that his jugular introduction had nearly sunk. Quinn took the conversation reins. L'Rell handed him. Indeed, specifications for this stitching network technology will all be provided so that you can maintain your sovereign territory, and collectively we can put this threat behind us. He turned to Loris. The Tholian Assembly has provided us with mostly redacted report of the vortices. They form in regions of space that have experienced dimensional or temporal stress, weakening the space between dimensions and eventually causing a vortex to form. Well, sat in her seat at that. Quinn could tell that all the actions of her torchbearer Juula during the disposing of Jempak was weighing heavily on her mind. She had opened dozens of mycelial rifts with her weapon, and Akar had done the same, all in the name of the Empire, a mess that was responsibility of the Klingons to clean up, but nowhere near the bulk of the problem. That horror was firmly in the wheelhouse of the Federation. When continued, given enough time, a vortex can grow to threaten the system or even sector of space it has formed in. The Tholians have prioritized the known vortices based on their assessment of how damaging they could be. However, I urge you to review this list yourselves, as Tholian priorities have been known to differ from our own from time to time. Datan, nearly aware of Quinn's attempt at levity, brushed past it and pressed his own agenda. And when will the stitching network technology be available? Quinn smiled. Admiral Camarque and some of our best and brightest are finishing final trials as we speak. You'll have all the specifications within the week. That is nice. Prepare the guillotine. Vortices are starting to open across known space and ripple between our dimension and somewhere else, despite having the technology necessary for closing them. Doing so will be anything but a routine science mission. Not because the vortices are particularly dangerous, but because something on the other side wants to keep them open. Ooh, interesting. Guillotine is a task force operation where your mission is to close the dimensional vortices opening up across the known and prevent whatever is on the other side from getting a foothold into this universe. The blade falls for PC captains with the launch of Star Trek Online Incursion. So again, always starts on PC and then we'll follow up on the console bridge. So that was quite a read. Like I said before, love reading these to see kind of where the devs heads at with the story and kind of hinting. I mean, we know it's the Borg, obviously, with the picture that they gave us here. It's the Borg. So I guess the Borg in the mirror universe are more ruthless, which kind of makes sense because they're saying that this Borg is different from the previous sort of updates we did there. So that's going to be interesting. So we'll see where that leads. So next up, the Starfleet Flashback bundle combining a number of nostalgic items is coming soon to Xbox and PlayStation. So captains, we already did a video on this. What we're going to do is link that in the description below, but we'll go over it quickly here as well. I personally have not gotten this bundle yet, but with the 35% sale as of this video going on right now, we're going to get it, and we're going to benefit from having 4 ships because you get 3 ships plus the tier 6 ship token there. So go here. There it is. That's what you're going to get. So the Starfleet Flashback bundle combines a number of nostalgic items, including 3 tier 6 updates to ship classes that launch with Star Trek Online. So the Starfleet Flashback bundle is coming soon to a Zen store near you. This bundle combines a number of nostalgic items, trying the Starfleet's past, both recent and more distant. The phasers of the next generation, the uniforms from Star Trek Picard, and 3 tier 6 updates to ship classes that launch with Star Trek Online. The bundle goes on sale September 13th to the 27th. So again, it's a 25% promotional sale. So 12,500 there it is. So, and of course, here's the bundle content. So the T6 Augur Temporal Science Vessel, the T6 Justiciar Command Star Cruiser, T6 Cyclone Intel Escort, which I'm more excited about to try this one because I'm more tactical, so I love those. But I'm also wanting to see how this cruiser is. You also get 100% off tier 6 ship coupon. So that's 4 ships in this bundle. That's 4 ships. So I think looking at the sale last night, it was like 8,000 something for me. It is definitely worth it for me personally for this bundle, just for the ships alone. But on top of that, you get 8 ship slots. That's going to help. 7 experimental ship upgrade tokens. So I wonder how this T6X2 is going to work with these now, because obviously I don't know if the T6X2 will just add just the 1 additional slot. If you have to apply this to as well, the original one plus the new one, we'll have to see. 3 fleet modules exclusive to the pack, Picard Season 1 Starfleet 2385 uniforms. I'm not a fan of them. I just, for some reason, I don't like the look of these uniforms. I like the one that we got free, the one that Liam Shaw was mostly wearing there. Exclusive to the pack, Star Trek The Next Generation weapons. It's all pretty good. And exclusive to the pack title, Old School. All the non-expendable items, the ship's costume weapons are unlocked for your entire account. So that's pretty cool. Below, you can find the images of the new items in the pack. Click on the name of each starship to find out their stats. So like I said, we're going to link the video because we already went through that in the description below. But let's have a quick look at the Augur here. Nice little angle there. There is the Justiciar Command Star Cruiser and the Cyclone Intel Escort. So quite, this one's I'm more interested in because I like the look of it. But of course, you get your uniforms. There's the phasers right there. So the last time we went over this, they didn't have these images, but now they do. So that's pretty cool. I thought we already had this type of phaser, but there's the also Dustbuster, but Flashback with us very soon, Captain. So that is for, again, the console bridge. So there is that. Go here. This is pretty cool, but unfortunately we're gonna miss this. But it's time for another triple stress test this Tuesday, September 5th, 1 p.m. Pacific time. So we're working during that time, so unfortunately we won't be able to join. It says join us on the test server and battle tons of high-level enemies in iconic battlefields. We'll be meeting this time at the Voth Space Battle Zone. That's interesting. So it says here, here's how to get on Tribble. So it brings us here to this page. It was right in the Gearbox news site here. So we'll go over this quickly. So Star Trek Online test server. What is the test server? The Star Trek Online public test servers are where we'll be previewing and testing all of our latest content before making it available on holodeck. Much of the content may be unpolished and potentially buggy. After all, well, everything's buggy. Even on holodeck. After all, that's a point of putting it on a test server. We greatly appreciate bug reports and feedback on this content so that we can refine and perfect it before putting it live. I want to say stuff. These are two test servers, Tribble and Redshirt. Please be aware that Tribble will be used to test new code, while Redshirt will be used to test builds that are heading to holodeck. While Tribble will almost always be available to play on, Redshirt may be taken offline for periods of time between builds. How do I access a public test server and transfer a character to it? So it actually says it right here. You have to click right here, navigate to the Tribble test server, and log in with your account credentials. Read through the information on the page and click sign up button at the bottom. Select your character you wish to transfer from the character drop-down menu and select which test server you want from the server drop-down menu. Click copy character, log into Stow and select the Tribble or Redshirt from the drop-down menu. Once patching is complete, click engage. If you're having trouble transferring a character or receive an error message when transferring, please keep the following in mind. You are currently logged into the game with the character that you're trying to transfer. You will need to log out first before transferring. So just do this before you even turn on Stow. If you have transferred numerous characters to the test server previously, you may need to delete one or two of them to free up space for a new transfer. So do I get to keep the progress I make on tests? So everything, I'll leave this in the description below, but essentially once you copy them, they're there. The current tune-up, whatever you have in your inventory, your build, it will transfer over. The thing that'll be messed up is your trace. That is what I've noticed. Now, I have the site up here. I've already signed in, but once you sign in, you'll be taken to this. So playing on the public test server. Now that you sign up, you can create a brand new character on the public test server, or just, like I said, copy your existing, which is easier because, of course, that is where all your toys are. Please note, copying character to public test server will not affect your character on the live server in any way. Certain account features, such as buying and spending Zen, are not available on public test servers. To stay up to date, the latest game versions that are on the public test server, of course, here's the form. So all you got to do when you're here, Caps, character, and it'll show all the characters you have. Okay, then you just have to pick one. Just pick the one, pick the server, and then boom, Tribble, and then hit copy. Usually for me, it's pretty instant. It says it's like a message to, it'll take a while, but this is also where if I wanted to test a promo ship, if I had a box, like an either lockbox or a promo box, this is where I can sometimes test the ships. Sometimes they're available, the new ones, sometimes they're not, but it's hit and miss. Now, this is what I've been using at times to test my event prize ships here on the Tribble server. So I do find that quite convenient to test out ships prior to buying them, or actually opening them from those lockboxes or promo box on holodeck. So thought we'd quickly go over that. Again, all these links that we go over are always going to be in the description below, along with the video that we mentioned here going over the Starfleet Flashback bundle. So Caps, that is the update for this morning. Just thought we would pass that on to you, Caps, here on the bridge. So do us a huge favor, hit that like button. Also, comment below, let us know what you're excited about in and or think about that new Guillotine TFO incoming. That's, again, it's pretty interesting how we have this image here, the protostar being announced, that being the ship. I believe the ship is going to make a actual appearance in the actual featured episode, in my opinion. We'll see if I'm right and or if I'm wrong. Pretty sure too, with Incursion Captains, we'll be getting some free giveaways, so look out for an announcement here on the bridge for us going over whatever freebies we can get. Most likely more T6 ship upgrades with the T6X2 coming, and a bunch more other freebie stuff that they give us, usually about weapons and all that stuff, but we will of course let you Caps know. Do us a favor again, if you're new here, consider subscribing to the YouTube bridge, and of course we will leave it on this note.
Live long and prosper.